Well, one thing's for certain, today was the coldest day of 2021 and the coldest I've been since sometime last winter. It was freezing. But they had the track very, very good today. The sun was out. Yes, honey. I know. The sun was out and the track was very, very good today. A lot of horses went today, maybe 40 went today, 39 or 40. We still had some horses that maybe their castrations weren't completely sealed up yet. Had some horses that had come back from the field recently, maybe went a slow mile today, but didn't go in sets. We had about 39 or 40 of them that went in sets. I was very, very happy. Top 10 list today has changed quite a bit. Now, there's some horses I'm going to give some honorable mentions to because they did do very well today. They just didn't make the top 10 list. You Gotta Believe was awesome today. I had him in with Pacers today. And I'll save it for the horse that won the set. But a very good set. Very good set. Those horses were all pretty tight-knit. Another horse in there, Confederate Cruiser. Both Confederate Cruiser and You Gotta Believe are horses that just kind of been on the fringe for a while. And what are they? What do they look like? The day I went with You Gotta Believe out here, he looked awesome, but he was in with horses that were making breaks. And how would he look in a group setting? I hadn't gone with him since then, since that day. I went with him today, and he was very good. In with Pacers, and we were smoking pretty good on the end of it. You Gotta Believe and Confederate Cruiser were both horses that showed significant improvement today. Hey, it's okay. Significant improvement today. Garden State Deal won her set, but the 10 I had on here were very good today. Garden State Deal won her set, made a breakdown by the wire. We're right in the place where, do we put the hobbles on her? This filly is so smooth gated, but she does roll off once in a while. Now, if you remember, her sister, Spirit of Dio, was nice gated, but wore zinging tight hobbles her whole life, even when she was here. Two very different animals, two very different gaits. Both seem to possess that beautiful look to them. And I suspect that Garden State Deal will be a good horse for us. I know that James really, really likes this filly. I do too. It's hard not to watch her in motion and not like her. She's just a beautiful, beautiful filly. She won her set, and I didn't put her on the top 10 list. That rarely happens. But there were 10 horses I wanted to talk about. Also, Procrastinator won a set today. Now, don't get too excited. He was in a 4-horse set. The other 3 horses were a little bumpy and rough and rolled off. Horses were just beginning to button down on again. Maybe there were horses like Matt's MVP made a break today, but he's coming off castration. Then he coughed all week. Just the last few days he wasn't coughing, so we just want to take it easy with him. He rolled off, I think, down the backstretch. Now, it felt like Procrastinator was finishing up his mile good, then he got out of gear. He's going to need the next 3 weeks. As I said the other day, I think he's veered off that, geez, we got to get rid of this horse path and onto another path where you're like, maybe. There's something there. We need to grow that. We need to expand that over the next 3 weeks, and we're going to try to. So Procrastinator won his set, didn't make it on the top 10 list. As I said, You Gotta Believe, Cruiser, Amor Diener looked fantastic again today. This is going to be a nice call. I don't know what kind of caliber animal he's going to be, but I would be surprised if he wasn't ready to go in June and doesn't make some sort of a splash in Pennsylvania. You know, a lot of our Pennsylvania breds last year, we knew they're probably not going to leave Canada until they go maybe a Buckeye or a Stallion Series stake over at the Meadows or something of that nature. Even a horse like Braemar, we knew he wasn't going to be ready till later in the year, so we weren't in a rush with him. I believe Amor Diener will leave Canada and will qualify in June. Now, that's a fairly lofty statement on January 23rd of 2021. That's a fairly lofty statement, but I believe what I see in this horse, one, he's the perfect size. He's not a giant. He's certainly not a midget. Very beautifully well put together, medium-sized horse. So I would think as he puts on muscle, he'll be able to do it in a way that won't affect or interrupt his training. He's got a nice gait. He moves well. His attitude since we castrated him a month and a half ago has been a complete 180. He's now actually turned into a really nice horse. We had him down at Mario's barn for the last week just because I was working with Duke Dio, who will likely be castrated in the near future. But I'll tell you, we're going to drone next Saturday. So I don't want to castrate him Tuesday, and because he'll miss the drone set. We'll castrate him after the drone set, but he's I could see him today. Jimmy Gillespie went with him. He was just being a goof, wandering all over the place, just really being a dummy. And not that he's a stupid horse, just a stud and not paying attention. So I'll go with him this week on Wednesday. We'll make sure we have him in the right frame of mind and on his feet, on his toes for Saturday. But I would suspect shortly thereafter he'll be castrated. How did I get on this path? We were talking about the other horses. So Amor Diener was fantastic since we castrated him. A horse that I had on the list, took off the list, had on the list. A horse you're going to be paying very close attention to between now and June when she leaves for Ohio, and that will be 1-2 Skip a Few. This is a beautiful, beautiful filly. Beautiful filly. And I think that my wife's just trying to say something to me. I can't read her lips. 1-2 Skip a Few has got a beautiful gait. There was no skipping today. Jimmy Gillespie goes with this filly and he likes her. And as I said to him, she's a very likable animal. And he said it even today. We put a head pull on her for the first time. It bothered her for 0 seconds. It's almost like somebody took a racehorse. It was like an undercover boss. We put a racehorse in with the babies. She can do things and understands things that the other horses don't get just yet. And that's not their fault. They just don't, they're not there yet mentally. She appears to be, which is very shocking, but it's definitely a feather in her cap. I think you're going to hear and see a lot of good things done from 1-2 Skip a Few from here to stake season in Ohio. Just a beautiful filly with a beautiful gait. There's 2 horses on this training center that we had the hobbles on and we took them off, and one of our clients, Johnny, a good friend of mine now, had pointed out to me that rarely happens, where we put them on and take them off. You're right, because there's no real reason to take them off. It's like wearing a belt. Once you get used to wearing a belt, you wear a belt. That's the way it is. You don't always need it, but it's there. And I think you see that also with what are you doing, bud? Oh, is Mommy done too? Yeah. Okay, do you want to start our car for us so it's running?
By the way, me and racing junkies are gonna run at me, but I used the force into drift.
Oh, nice. Use the force. So yeah, 1-2 Skip a Few, just a beautiful filly to be around. She's really put her gait together. I would swear she would never need a set of hobbles the rest of her life the way she trots. And for a filly that really did need them when we broke them, she's come such a long way in a short time. But that's the mental aspect of training horses. She's just so much better now. And then 3-Point Blue Chip made a break in the far turn, but man, he was flying after that. He's putting it all together. You're probably going to see hobbles on him next week, and I know maybe some of the old-time horsemen or some of the people that are paying attention to 3-Point Blue Chip would be like, just take your time. I don't subscribe to that. They'll get over it. And James and I have butted heads about this. James is like an 85-year-old man jammed into a 35-year-old kid's body. I don't subscribe to the just let them break and they'll get over it. No. If they're making mistakes, I want them corrected immediately so that they can push forward and put that behind them. That's the way I feel about training yearlings and horses. And the one thing about training babies, and this is what you guys a lot of you understand it now, but if you haven't, you will at some point, is that there's a million different ways. I've seen people train horses and you just sit back and say, geez, I just don't really agree with the way they're training those horses. And then you go out and here they are winning races. And then other people you'd swear are just the sharpest people you've ever met, and their horses just, those particular horses aren't good. So I do subscribe also to the fact that a good horse is a good horse, and a good horse will get to the races no matter what. But we do, I think the easiest way to put it for you, and I think you guys know this by now, is if we have the smartest, the most intelligent, prepared horses to go to the track, we don't have to have the best horses. Now, we've bought some much better pedigrees this year. I think every year we get better. We've never had a pedigree like 3-Point Blue Chip, right? Maybe not even like Will to Win Hanover. We've had some good horses, but not like that. And when it comes to 3-Point Blue Chip, why would I change the way that I train horses for a horse that was seemingly expensive? We're not going to play favorites in January. And this is another thing that James and I butt heads about, is that whether it's Prairie Fire or You Gotta Believe, who is like a $7,000 horse, right? Or whether you're 3-Point Blue Chip, when you get to this barn, when you come to school, when you work out here, you're all the same. Let them show you who the best one is, not some sale catalog. And I think that's one thing we all have figured out by now, I believe, being here, is that you don't have to pay the most money for the best horse. And that's what's so beautiful about this game, is that you really don't know. So you'll likely see the hobbles on 3-Point Blue Chip next week, but what I saw today was a horse getting it. He's a little tender. This is a half-mile track, and a lot of people think that maybe you should train them on big tracks. But I want to see the horses up against adversity also. What are you going to do when you get to the turn? Yes, you might touch yourself. You might touch your ankle. You going to run? Are you going to push through it and do what it takes to get there first? And you see this with a lot of horses, right? You know, winners win, and losers look for a way to lose. And we want to put these horses in a position to be one or the other, and recognize that when we see it. So 3-Point Blue Chip, I was very, very happy with what I saw today. Not super happy he made a break. I could see the little mark on his ankle when we came in. I know what happened. When you get to a turn and you start to slow up and be self-conscious and box your gait up, just ever so slightly, come on, it's okay, what do you need? Just ever so slightly, you end up with the horse making a break in a lot of times, and that's not good for the horse. It's not good for you. Certainly not good for 3-Point Blue Chip. So that's where we're at. Those horses didn't make the top 10 list today. Oh, look what I found. Here's your kitty hat. So, where we're at. All right, let's get. Do you want to go? Do you want to go home? Let's go home. This is the portion of my day where I try to figure out what will keep my little girl occupied and not scream at me while we go home. Yay! So, so those are the horses that did not make the top 10 list for no particular reason. I was impressed with them, but I was just a little more impressed with the ones that made this list. And a couple of them are on the list for the first time, and a couple of them I told you to pay attention to, and you will soon enough. So let's get right into the actual list. Number 10, Century Invictus. This horse finished second in his set, but I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give it away because the horse that won that set, I'll tell you in a minute. Century Invictus was very good for a horse that hadn't trained much in a month, because we had him castrated 3 weeks. We had him castrated, had to give him time off. He looked good today. James was happy with him. I was happy with him. You got to believe was in that set and flying on the end of the mile. Century Cruiser was climbing over the back of him, going under the finish line. A very, very good set of horse. I think Mario had the Better's Delight filly in there. She looked good also, twinkle in her eye. And I feel bad sometimes because Mario's horses aren't right in my face, right? They're down. Shadow 5 were in the top barn. So Rosie's Masterpiece was good. Hey, you. What are you doing? Rosie's Masterpiece was very good. You're silly. Who else was good? All Mario's horses were good today. The big black Colt made a break, but in fairness, I ran into him. I didn't run into him, but I made a break in front of him, and he jostled. And Addie Bear, that's enough, sweetie. So, number 10, Century Invictus. Very good today. Very impressed with what I've seen from this horse. And I think that castration will only help him down the road. Number 9, I didn't have him on the list. And then I said, you know, that's unfair. Sweetie, don't do that. I didn't have him on the list today. Addie Bear, please. Oh, wait. I got a horsey in here. What about this horsey? Oh, that's a good girl. So number 9 was Almost There, Boss. Brody LeCain went with him. He did a good job. This is a good kid. You know, he's learning how to train horses and someday probably going to be a driver. Really puts a lot into his work and likes the horses he's going with. His Spent was a little grabby for him last week, so James went with him today. We'll hear about him in a minute. But number 9, Almost There, Boss. Brody did a good job with him. He looks really, really good, this colt. The Sunshine Beaches aren't going to get me again this year. I like them a lot, a couple of them that we have. I'm going to try and contain myself to June. This is what happens with the breed itself. They're just so flashy and good looking. You know, you talk about them, then you get to the track and maybe not the depth is there. And that's nothing against the sire. He's still putting quality animals out there, but they just look so flashy, you get really high on them. Almost There, Boss looks very, very good. Really happy with him. He's at number 9. Number 8, Massive Profit. This horse you're going to pay attention to also throughout the spring and summer. Really happy with what I've seen from him. If you don't know him, he can fool you and he'll make a break on you. We've had the belly band hobbles on him. Probably doesn't need them, and even James said today, this guy probably doesn't need the hobbles anymore. We'll probably leave them on for now, but he'll shed them at some point throughout the spring as he starts to fill out and become a bigger, stronger animal. Excuse me. Anyway, Massive Profit was very, very good again today. Really like what I've seen from this colt. He just kind of seems to understand what he's supposed to be doing. Sure, he's made mistakes, and he will in the future, but I'm very, very happy with what he has done, and definitely how he looked today. Number 7, a horse that I told everybody I was going to pay attention to all week. He looked very good today. Still not done making changes. We made some shoeing changes on him, made a few equipment changes. We're still going to make one more change with him, and his name is Prairie Fire. Prairie Fire was very good today. Who picked me off at the wire? A horse later on the list. I don't want to give the list away. We'll talk about that. I moved him twice in the mile. James got up and beat me at the wire, but we were really trotting on the end of it. I can feel Prairie Fire kind of fighting with the hobbles. That's because we still have a lot of weight on him. We'll start to bring that weight off and let him accelerate forward. I know why he gets on the right line. He's got a little mark on his right ankle and scalps himself right hind. So it's just a matter of tinkering with his shoeing until we get him proper. But Prairie Fire was very, very strong today. Very impressed with what I saw from him. Our Ohio horses, every year we end up talking about them, but this year in particular, it just seems like we have a lot of them to talk about. Number 7, Prairie Fire, the reason I laugh. Number 6 is Of Tom. She was so good today too. What's your horsey doing? Of Tom. This is a big, lanky filly. Sometimes she struggles with raw speed in the miles, and that's simply because she doesn't have enough muscle on her frame, but she laid outside of them and beat them up today and looked very good doing it. I was really happy with Of Tom today. I always am happy with Of Tom, but now we're out of the phase where, gee, she's flashy and a gorgeous filly. Now I need to see some speed and strength, but you can't really ask her for that speed until she gets the strength. That's going to come from work, but as long as she continues to do her work well, I'll be very happy with Of Tom, and she was good today, winning her set. Number 5, Tioga Sunshine. We made some changes on her. Then the blacksmith had called the other day when he was shoeing her. He said, Anthony, her heels and her feet look like they bother her. Can we put flip-flops on her since you already have them on a lot of horses? I said, absolutely, Felix. So Felix had asked, actually the blacksmith had asked for the shoeing change. We made the shoeing change, and she's been exceptional ever since. Won her set on Wednesday, won her set easily today. Just a very strong filly, and I'm really impressed with what I've seen from Tioga Sunshine over the last 2-3 weeks. Number 4 was the horse I was talking about, Spent. We've been watching Spent. This is a Swan for All Colt, the brother to Spend That Money, who is a filly of ours. We still have. She's ready to qualify now. Spent sat behind, cut the mile out. I looped around him with Prairie Fire. And if I just wasn't worried about Prairie Fire making a little break, because he had made breaks in the past, it would have been a closer affair. James kind of launched out of the 2-hole and bolted right by me at the wire. Spent looked very good. James was very happy with him, and I was very happy with Prairie Fire. Number 4, Spent looked very, very good. Number 3 is a filly that has been exceptional. She really could be. Who's number 1? No, she's not number 1 today. And number 2 is a great story, so I had to make her number 2. Number 3, Better Be Sawyer. She was fantastic today again. This filly has been great for the last, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Just a race car. Amy goes with her and loves her. Just move her wherever you want. She does everything correctly. Just a beautiful, beautiful filly. This is a better than Cheddar filly and her sister to Dream for Eternal. All the right to be a good horse, and I'm cheering for her. She looked very good again today. Number 2, you're gonna love this, Miss Mildred. So Colt Longprix works for us. Just a really, really nice man. Loves horses. Doesn't have a lot of experience as a trainer, so he loves to go with them whenever he can. Now, this time of year, I can't let him go with a lot of the horses because it's hard especially if we're out on drone day, to say, Colt made a little mistake. And it'll happen. It's not the end of the world. We all make mistakes. That's how we learn. but when it comes to like drone day, I can't allow that to happen, right? So, but I try to get Colt as much experience as I can with the horses, just so he learns, and he wants to learn. So he loves Miss Mildred, and he goes with her. So 2 weeks ago, he absolutely torched us with Slim Jimmy, and James kind of said to him after, you know, don't win by so many lengths, and you know, go easy with the horses, and just normal stuff, not really a big deal. So Colt's always trying to learn. So he says to me, we're about to turn, he goes, I'll just sit out there with Mildred, you know, I don't want to screw up. I want to make sure that she's good training. I'm like, Colt, just relax. Miss Mildred's like a race car. You can do anything you want with her. So I'm sitting third or fourth with you gotta believe I'm in with Pacers. James is moving Century Invictus. On the front is Mario with Twinkle in her eye. And here comes Colt 3 wide down the backstretch. We're just going by the draw gate, just by where the barns are, and he's already out in the middle of the track with Miss Mildred. And he's got a hold of her, like she wants to get at it. And he realizes what's going on, and he kind of grabs a hold of her, and she like wants to get at them. And I'm in the middle now with You Gotta Believe. So we're fanned out across the track coming out of the turn, and Colt just taps her on the tail. Zoom! She just, inhales everyone and drives to the front. I come late with You Gotta Believe, who was really smoking on the end of the mile, especially for a trotter and with them. I get up for second, and I'm chasing him down, and it's apparent to me, usually after the wire, the guy who's clear to the front, you'll let them go by, and then you'll come again just to make sure they get it. No, there was no getting by Colt. It was all game on. So I just took back coming out of the turn. The mile's over. The mile and a half is over, and Miss Mildred's still gone. So Colt pulls up, and we're joking about it, right? Because this is funny. And James said, yeah, Invictus was good. I said, You Gotta Believe was good. Century Cruiser was great. I said, what about our boy Colt? James goes, she's going to know everything about racing before she ever gets to racing. I said, yeah, we're going to be teaching her Spanish in May because she's seen everything. Anyway, the filly was absolutely fantastic. It was just funny the way the Colt went about the mile. He really, when he said, I'm just going to sit outside everybody, he was serious. He literally was just going to sit outside everybody. The filly was good. Colt was fine. Everything was good. But Miss Mildred, number 2, and looked exceptionally good today. Number 1, and trust me when I tell you, there was no doubt who number 1 was today. Now, I told you that 3-point blue chip made a break. I was sitting last. We were already past the half. Mario was up front with... No, Mario. I don't know who was up front. Maybe Jimmy. Maybe Jimmy with 1-2, skip a few. So he's just kind of waiting for somebody to come, right? Nobody's come yet. He's just kind of waiting there. And I move him over from 6th, and 3-point blue chip. I told you, he's figuring it out. He, in a blink of an eye, for a big Colt, he went from 6th to 1st in, let's say, 50 yards. Maybe less. He just inhaled the front, and when I did, I'm like, ooh, Jesus, I don't want to drive away from him. And I doubled him up. When I doubled him up, he got to the turn, he boxed his gate up, and he rolled off. But as I was doubling him up, another horse was coming. Now that horse was sitting last when I went around her. And that horse is Purple Aura. There was absolutely no question who number 1 was today. Johnny McKinnon loves Purple Aura. Purple Aura is a very nice horse. He cleared me, and I was going more than I wanted to. Now, I can't start. I know that 3-point blue chip is exposed in the turns. He's susceptible to the turns. I don't want to put him on the run. I've already throttled him back into almost neutral, and just as I got to neutral, Johnny came 100. I can't start him back up the turns right here. I'm just going to let him clear, but there was nothing I could have done about it anyway. He inhaled 3-point blue chip but now we're in neutral. He wasn't. He was in overdrive, and as he cleared to the front, now 3-point blue chip wants to go with him, touches himself and makes a break. No one wanted any part of, 1-2, skip a few, get out, was closing hard also. But no one wanted any piece of Purple Aura today. When I tell you, she has done nothing wrong, virtually since day 1. She floor scoped good. She looks good. This is a filly I told everybody about. When I went to visit the farms, just give me a second. When I went to visit the farms way back when, I told you all about the creatines and how, do you remember me telling you, geez, you know, I never really thought about buying a creatine, but man, they're good looking horses. The very first one that ever caught my eye was Purple Aura. She was at Steiner Stock Farm when I went there to look at a lot of the other horses, and I told everybody how I now liked the creatines because I had every farm I went to, there seemed to be 2 or 3 that looked nice. This was the first one. This filly does nothing wrong. When you ask her, she'll trot right through the ground in front of her. When you stop her up, she'll come right to a stop. She's like a 3-year-old that is training down with 2-year-olds. Johnny put her in gear today, and as the turn was there was nothing I was going to do. If I tried to let him keep going the speed he was going, he may have made a break, and she was going every bit as fast as I was. But Purple Aura was just extraordinarily good today. 3-point blue chip, as I said, I know why he made a break, because he wanted to fight. I put him in a spot to make a break, and he made a break. Hey, what's wrong, huh? So that was what happened with 3-point blue chip, but Purple Aura, take nothing away from... Shh, easy, sweetie. Take nothing away from Purple Aura. She was exceptionally good today. There were some horses, that's your top 10 list, but there were some horses that were very, very good today. The top 3 have been and continue to be exceptional, and that is Purple Aura. Number 2 is Miss Mildred, one of the last horses we broke, one of the flashiest horses on the track. You're going to be paying attention to her very, very soon. And then the number 3 horse, Better Be Sawyer. I mean, she seems like she could go just as fast as you asked her to go. She's like an airplane out there. Does nothing wrong. You can move her wherever you want. Those top 3 horses right there have done everything completely exceptional for quite some time. And they are definitely the top 3 today. They've been the top 3 or amongst the top 3, 5 for a while. And the top 10 we had today was good. So, number 10, Century Invictus, off castration. Second training trip back, looked very, very good. Finished second, and second to Miss Mildred. And looked very, very good. Number 9, Almost There Boss, another horse that historically has looked good every single week, has looked good and looked great again today. He can really, really pace this horse. Number 8, Massive Profit. This horse always catches my eye. Sure, he's made some breaks, and he's going to continue to from time to time in the future. But when he's on, when he's doing it right, man, he's a sweet horse to watch trot. Number 7, Prairie Fire. I think you're going to be hearing a lot about this guy in the future. Another Ohio-bred prospect we have that can really trot quick. Change his gear, change his shoes, put the hobbles on him a couple of weeks ago. He's got it all put together now, and he understands what he's there to do. Very, very impressed with what I saw from him today. A horse that I've had my eye on since the first day we put a harness on her back, Of Tom. Looked good again today. She doesn't have the raw power that Purple Aura has just yet. Purple Aura is a perfectly well put together filly, medium-sized filly. She's got more than enough muscle on her. She's ready to do everything we need her to do and more right now. Mentally, she's there. That's why she looks so good. Of Tom is a tall, lanky kid, probably like Minute Bull looked like. See, I'm aging myself now. Minute Bull, if you guys remember, you watch basketball, you know, first like 7-foot tall kid in the NBA. You can only put so much muscle on a big lanky frame. And when you look at Of Tom, you can see there's a lot of frame there to put muscle on. But the fact that you can just move her over and she does her work, does everything she can, and gets the job done, I love that about her and love the way she went today. That was number 6. Number 5, Tioga Sunshine has been fantastic since we made the shoeing changes. We made another one with the flip-flops this week from the blacksmith. Even better. Even better. She looked great again today. Number 4, Spent, has always looked really good and continues to look good. James did a great job with him today, but he said, geez, you know, this horse is pretty push button. So Irv Miller had asked me about him. I know Irv, it's tough. Irv's in Florida training his babies on that beautiful sandy track, and then he looks at the tundra here and he says, what about Spent? Don't worry, there's lots of time to catch up, and Spent looks very, very good. And then the top 3 have been exceptional. As I said, Better Be Sawyer, fantastic again today. She was really, really good. Miss Mildred, a name that you're going to hear a lot of in the coming months. And then number 1 was Purple Aura, and truthfully speaking, as good as 2 and 3 were, number 1 was number 1 today. Purple Aura just looks head and shoulders above everybody else right now. She may not have the raw power that I think a horse like 3-Point Blue Chip has, or a number of other horses at the barn, but mentally she's there. Physically she's there. She's put it all together. She knows what she's supposed to do, and you can just drive her however you want. Johnny's done a great job with her. Everybody that takes care of her, everybody that has anything to do with that filly is doing a great job. But man, she looked some good today. So that is your top 10 list. It is a long one today. I really rambled, but I'm now home. Addie Bear and I are home. Eyes are getting a little droopy. She's getting a little tired. I suspect a nap is imminent, maybe for both of us. Talk to you guys soon. I hope you had a great weekend.